Hi everyone. I'm sitting out here in the Coire garden, just out in the blackthorn thicket, and it is such a beautiful, uplifting sight to see all these gorgeous, delicate, pale blossoms. And this year, at every time I think about that balance, between the light and the dark. We're here in the period between spring equinox, Connacht in the Irish language, and Bealtaine, the May festival to come, the fire festival. And so we're past the balance point where we're already in the bright half of the year, where the light is growing every day, and yet these beautiful, delicate blossoms are contrasted with the thorns and the dark wood of the blackthorn. And the blackthorn is traditionally used to make the shillelagh sticks. And I always see it at this time as a symbol or an allegory for that balance between the light and dark. The thorns, reminding us of the need for protection and boundaries. And yet these delicate, beautiful blossoms are just a reminder of the feminine energy of keeping the heart open, of beauty. So with all that's going on in the world, it can be hard to hold on to that sense of beauty and to keep the heart open. But this blackthorn is a real symbol of resilience and of that balance of beauty and boundaries. And we're moving towards Bealtaine, another 5 weeks or less, when many of us will be gathering at Ishnok for the Great Fire Festival, celebrating summer and fullness and abundance and sensuality and the sacred union and vitality and life force, which is very Maeve energy. And Maeve has been knocking on the door recently. I was sharing with some of my students on our Patreon workshop last night about something that happened up at Lough Crew just after the equinox dawn ceremony. So first of all, we had come down from the hill. There were still some making their way down, and bumped into the magnificent character that is Tom King on Gowa, the blacksmith. And he was talking about the old roads to Tara, and about Maeve and her chariot and how her party would arrive into Tara. And then one of the women and myself went to my car in the car park, and the car wouldn't start. Now, it had no issues in the morning, but it just would not start. It was absolutely dead as a doornail. 3-4 times, I think, I turned it off, turned it on again. There wasn't even a click or a tick or a sound. And I just found myself saying, oh, Maeve, you are the woman of the chariot, the queen, the warrior that drives the chariot. Bring some energy now. I need energy in my engine to go. And I turned the key again, and it started, and it's been going ever since without any problems. So what was all that about? We get these little nudges sometimes from the other world, from the deities, and it's like, okay, Maeve, what do you want? And we were having a little mini workshop back at the house we were staying in, and instead of doing a journey to the Cailleach or to Bridget, I felt we just had to go to Maeve, which we did. So Maeve is calling, and she is about wildness and freedom of the body, She is about fierceness, but she's very much, in terms of the sacred union, she is about the marriage of equals, the balance of equals. And as a sovereignty goddess, she cannot be undermined. And, the whole story of the battle raid of Cooley Tombokulia is basically a war, a battle, in order for her to reinstate that parity with her husband, who has deliberately sought to undermine her sovereignty by saying the very stupid thing, aren't you the lucky woman, that you took up with me? And she's rightly peeved by this, very rightly angry by this. But she is a sovereignty goddess. And a sovereignty goddess cannot be in a marriage that is anything less than equal. And so we also, have to carry that sovereignty, and especially as people who walk the path of this Indigenous Irish spirituality, if we're going to mediate that energy from the sacred land or from the deities, we need to be in alignment with the sovereignty of the land. We need to claim our own sovereignty, our own empowerment. And to do that, we have to understand that we cannot bestow our energy upon unworthy candidates. So, in the same way that the goddess of the land, or the queen, as an embodiment of that sacred sovereignty of the land, will choose the rightful or worthy candidate, if we are carrying and aligning with that energy, we have to be really clear in our intimate relationships that the other person is our equal, that we are not compromising our own integrity or our own power or our own sovereignty for the sake of another, or for the sake of an easy life, or whatever it is. And sometimes that can be quite challenging. And the hope is, if we are in one of those, unequal balances of power, that the other person can shift and change with us. If not, we really have to examine whether it is the right thing or not. And that whole holding our sovereignty, holding our integrity, holding that core power aligned with the sacred sovereignty of the land, carries into the world around us. Are we complicit in the horror of genocide? Are we complicit in war crimes by staying silent, by saying nothing, by not challenging, untruth and manipulation and propaganda? And to really be in alignment, we have to be in our power in the world as well as within ourselves. And that does sometimes require calling things out. And so it would be so easy at the moment, with all the destruction, with all the chaos, with all the horrors. I mean, literal genocide, torturing of little children. I mean, it's beyond bearing even hearing what's happening. Imagine being in it. Imagine those are your loved ones. And so we do have a sacred duty to stand with the vulnerable, to stand with the oppressed. And it would be really easy to go into full on kind of vengeance mode. And yet, the energy of that brings us into the same headspace as those we see perpetrating horrors. So the challenge is, like the blackthorn, to have those thorns, to have that resilience, to have that strength, to have those boundaries. But like the blossom, to be still aware of and open to beauty, and to keep our hearts open. It's not an easy task. It is a challenge. And I do believe in justice. And I really do hope and pray and wish and send out intentions for those who are perpetrating the horrors of genocide and all the war crimes to be made accountable and to be brought to justice. So, as we move towards Bealtaine, we move towards the season of blossoming. Let it be that love that blossoms. Let it be that community that blossoms, that solidarity, that care, that support for the oppressed and the vulnerable. And, looking at the footage from the No Kings Day in the United States yesterday, the big anti racism rallies, in Dublin, in London, all the support rallies around the world, it really does feel like people are holding that heart energy and combating the dark with the light. And the light is growing. So, to you all, slán go fóill, goodbye for now, and I wish you all gra agus banachtaí, love and blessings.